So first things first, well, actually a couple things. Number one, I'm not even wearing a jersey right now. I'm wearing one of my Canada shirts because I'm recording this video pretty late. It's almost midnight. Today is Easter, so I do want to wish everyone a happy Easter. Just got busy with some family stuff, but I was able to watch this entire game, and this was impressive, and I think I learned something about this team, and not just this team, but a lot of teams are doing the same thing, where it's like, where they get into a playoff spot and they play worse, and then when they're not in a playoff spot, they play better. And you know what's really, really interesting about this game? So, the Sens start today in a playoff spot, right? So, they start in a playoff spot, and Carolina scores the first goal. Okay. Now, what's really funny about this is the Flyers ended up winning today. So the Sens and Flyers came in to today with the same amount of points, 88 points. Now, the Flyers won their game before the Sens game was finished. And you just can't make this stuff up. So, because the Flyers won, it actually pushed the Sens out of a playoff spot, at least momentarily, I think. I could be mistaken about that, but the point is, um, they play better when they're not in a playoff spot, which, well, at one point in time they were not. Oh, that's right, because the Islanders were ahead of them. Yes. Yeah, so the Flyers won, pushed them out of a playoff spot, and then they started playing better. It's like, it's so weird. So, obviously there was no watch party for the game tonight because it was Easter. So, I do have notes. We're going to go ahead and run through them right now, but this was an impressive game, man. So, game 77 of the season was played on Sunday, April 5th against the Carolina Hurricanes, 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern Start Time. This was the third and final meeting of the season between these two teams. So, Carolina won the first two, so the Sens avoid being swept by them. Starting goalies, a bit of a surprise here. Linus Ullmark starting for the Sens, and Frederik Andersen starting for the Hurricanes. I was surprised that Ullmark started today because back-to-backs, but he ended up playing really well. And you gotta love random cuts, right? As I was about to say, the Sens were 39, 27, and 10 coming into today. The Hurricanes were 49, 21, and 6, so they don't get their 50th win, so that's good. But yeah, just it's weird. It's weird, it's frustrating, and obviously you're happy. I mean, I'm happy because the team won 6-3 against the top team in the East, but it's like, why can't they play like this when they're in a playoff spot, right? But at the end of the day, this was a huge win, understatement, and they did get help again on the out-of-town scoreboard, which I will touch on more towards the end of the video, but yeah, this is a big game. Maybe a couple things you can complain about here and there, but this is a big win, man. 6-3 win over the Hurricanes. I can't complain too much. Alright, so let's take a look at the stats for tonight's game. So the Sens win by a score of 6-3, and they get their 40th win of the season, so they are 40, 27, and 10 on the season now. Hurricanes are 49, 22, and 6. And when you look at the stats, they're relatively even, honestly, for the most part. They outshoot the Hurricanes 31-28. They win 60.9% of the faceoffs compared to 39.1% for the Hurricanes. The special teams, their power play, 2 for 2. Their power play was 2 for 2. That's kind of shocking because their power play has looked pretty god-awful lately, so that was very refreshing. They do go 1 for 2 on the penalty kill, which is, you don't like to see that, obviously, but when your power play goes 2 for 2, it's not that big of a deal. So both teams had 4 penalty minutes. Hurricanes out-hit them 30-28. Block shots were 22-11 for the Sens, 19 giveaways for the Sens, 16 for the Hurricanes, and the takeaways were 5-3 in favor of the Sens. And as mentioned, this was the final meeting of the season between these two teams, and hey, this is a possible first-round matchup. It could happen. I'm not betting on it, but, it's a possibility. So, we're going to go ahead and go through my notes here. So again, there was no watch party as it was Easter Sunday, of course. So again, happy Easter to everyone. I hope you all had a fantastic day, a fantastic holiday with your family and those you care about. All right, so we start off the game. Shots are 2-1 Ottawa 4 minutes in. Spence ends up taking a penalty for holding. So Carolina, they move the puck around pretty well here. There's a pass into the slot to Stankoven, and he scores. And this is just me being negative. Don't mind this. Okay, I apologize for the random cuts. The air is very dry in my room right now, but yes, as I was saying, something else I've learned too is when I go into a game with no expectations, they play better. So, again, this is gonna sound negative, but I was like, is this game over already? Like, we're just a few minutes into the game. They're down 1-0. Yeah, it's me being negative, I'll admit it. But anyways, the Hurricanes do score on the power play. Stankoven from Ehlers and Blake. And we're 5:22 into the game. Hurricanes go up 1-0. Now early on, the Sens are having trouble clearing the puck out of their end. They didn't look great to start the game, especially in the first half of the first period, but they did get better as it went on. But just some really, really weird decision making, because Greg gets a breakaway and he passes it off. He doesn't shoot. So I'm like, okay, it's going to be that kind of game, right? They don't get a shot out of this. So the Sens do get a power play on this play because Svechnikov takes a penalty for slashing. So Sens go to the power play, and Dylan Cousins would make a strong play to the net, but that was stopped. And then Tkachuk also makes a strong play to the net shortly after that. That was also stopped. And then Batherson would make a nice play. He would cut around a defenseman, pass it into the slot to Dylan Cousins, and he would score on the power play. I know, the Sens scoring on the power play? What? That's crazy. But yes, Dylan Cousins would score his 27th of the season at the 7:17 mark from Stützle and Batherson. Just for the record, I was wearing my Stützle jersey tonight, so apparently that was the right move, because he had a pretty good night. So this ties the game at 1, so I'm thinking, okay, this is cool. They finally got a power play goal. Nice to see. That's, it's crazy what happens when you shoot. So now, not too long after this goal, after the Sens tie it, 8:51 into the game, Tim Stützle makes a heck of a play here. This is like a goal of the year candidate. He goes coast to coast, splits the D, and he scores an absolute beauty. Nothing needs to be said here. This is the Stützle we know. This is the Stützle we need. And he needed this goal as well because that was his first goal in 8 games, but it was a beauty. Coast to coast, through the defenseman. You love to see it. So that is his 33rd of the season at the 8:51 mark. Sens go up 2-1 and feeling pretty good now. The Sens are starting to gain some momentum. So yeah, after that, Batherson has a chance. He was left all alone in front, but he was stopped there. And I put in my notes here, it's crazy what happens when you put in the effort. Because tonight they didn't look tired. And it's so weird. It is weird. I'm gonna get a headache trying to figure it out, but it's like, they played yesterday. It would make sense for them to look tired tonight, but tonight they didn't look tired. It's like, it just makes no sense sometimes, right? They looked great tonight, truly. So, shortly after that, the Hurricanes, they would turn it over in their own end, and Batherson alone, again, he gets a great chance, but he misses the net here. So that's a couple of chances for Batherson in quick succession. So the Sens are very aggressive at this point in the game, and I'm like, where has this been? Where has this been the last 4 to 5 games, right? Now Spence would make a hit from behind on Svechnikov. This could have easily been a penalty. I think he probably got away with one here, but they don't call it. So then there was another good chance at the net for Pinto. He was turned away. So now the Sens, I do not like the way they ended the first period because they do get hemmed in their end for a long period of time, and I'm thinking in my mind, this is going to lead to a goal or a penalty, one of the two. And sure enough, Carolina does score late, very late in the period to tie it. So Svechnikov scores at the 1940 mark, just 20 seconds left in the period to tie it 2-2. I thought we might have a challenge here because initially at real time I thought Allmark might have had it covered, but he didn't. They don't end up challenging it, which I think was probably the right play because I think it was Fogel. He actually ended up hitting the puck like out of the glove of Allmark, so bit of a screw up there, a bit of a tough way to end the period because they end up having a really good first period. The shots in the first period end up being 15-13 for the Sens, and this is a Carolina team that is, well, number one, they're pretty good. The newsflash, they're pretty good, and they like to shoot. So the fact that the Sens outshoot them tonight is crazy. And if I'm not mistaken, I think they actually outshot Carolina in every game this season. So that's kind of crazy because, again, Carolina loves to shoot. And hey, that's part of the reason why they're so good, right? Because they shoot a lot and they score a lot. I know, crazy, right? But anyways, we do end the first period. We are tied 2-2. I'm feeling pretty good, you know, because I thought they were going to get destroyed today coming off a back-to-back. And like they didn't look great in the game yesterday against Minnesota. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty good at this point. So we roll into the second period. Crotty has a point shot that was stopped. And then Greg gets away with a high stick on Miller. So the Sens are getting away with a couple things here in my opinion. So there was a shot that went off the mask of Allmark. This would actually bend the middle wire, like the piece that comes down like this. It actually bent it a little bit. He was okay though. He just had to get a different mask, get it replaced. So he was okay. He would stay in the game. And then Thompson, he would get a good look, but he was turned away. So then Zub point shot was tipped in by Tkachuk. Nothing fancy about this play. Just a simple wrist shot from the point by Zub, and he is shooting for a deflection. He is not shooting to score. He is looking for a deflection here, and he gets it. So the captain, Brady Tkachuk, gets his 21st of the season from Zub and Greg at the 8:33 mark, and the Sens go up 3-2. So that was our only goal for in the second period as well. So then there was a Carolina shot that was tipped. Good save by Allmark there. And then Carolina would get away with a trip on Greg, it appeared. It looked like he was tripped up, but the ref didn't see it that way. There were definitely some things they missed on both teams tonight, I feel like. So then Carolina comes in on a 2-on-1, but then they pass it off. So I'm like, oh, okay. It's weird. I don't know. Again, this is something I talk about all the time. I don't know, like the whole not shooting on an odd man rush. And I know it's Carolina who did it this time, but just overthinking, looking for the perfect play, whatever it is, right? Just every team does it. And it's just strange when you think about it. But obviously, I'm not going to complain if Carolina wants to do it. But anyways, back the other way. Zub would come back the other way. He would get a good look, but he was stopped. There was a scramble play around the Ottawa net. This would lead to a wide open net for Carolina, but they actually miss it here, thankfully. So then Nick Cousins, he would take kind of a careless penalty at the end of the period for high sticking. This would roll into the third period. That the Carolina doesn't end up scoring on that power play, thankfully. So we do end the second period. Sens are up 3-2, and they outshoot Carolina 10-9 in that second period. So to this point in the game, it's 25-22 for the Sens. So we're looking pretty good. They're outshooting them slightly. They're up by 1. They're at home. So I'm actually kind of feeling pretty good about their chances. So we roll into the third period, and as mentioned, the Sens did kill off the remainder of that power play. So then Svechnikov, he would take a careless penalty, slashing penalty on Giroux. Kind of felt like Svechnikov was everywhere tonight. So then on this power play, there was a pass across to Pinto, and he would score on the power play. Sens go 2 for 2 on their power play which is so refreshing, because it has looked so bad lately. But yes, Pinto scores his 21st of the season from Zetterlund, 250 into the third period, and if this would make it 4-2, that does end up being your game winner as well. So, and then after that goal, Giroux would get a good look. He was stopped. And to this point in the game, Carolina, they don't really have too much going on. So I'm like, this is great. The Sens are up by 2. Hurricanes don't really look that interested, to be honest. And then Greg would make a heck of a play to go around the defenseman. I didn't put down who it was, but he would take it strong to the net. He was stopped, but then Tkachuk was there to bury the rebound. This makes it 5-2 Sens. So Tkachuk scores his second of the game, 22nd of the season from Greg and Dylan Cousins at the 6:32 mark, and this makes it 5-2 Sens. So there were a lot of just a lot of really great individual efforts today by the Sens. I thought Greg had a really good game. I do believe he was one of the stars. Tkachuk had a good game. It's just like it's just so weird, right? It's weird in the sense that this is a back-to-back. You'd think today they would have looked exhausted, but they look exhausted yesterday when it was not a back-to-back. So it's like, it's so strange, right? But, Carolina's pretty much locked up in that, the first spot in the division there. So maybe they're not super interested in, who knows, right? Who knows what goes through the minds of a professional athlete sometimes. But, anyways. So then, shortly after that, Pinto, he would make a nice move around the defender, and he gets a great look, but he does not score here. So Stützle would end up getting tangled up with a Carolina player. I didn't put down who it was. He would get up slowly. He would go to the bench slowly. He would stay in the game, but got a little bit scary there for a second. He was okay. He stayed in the game, thankfully, so nothing to worry about there as far as I know. So what I really like here is the Sens are still pressing. They weren't sitting back. And that's what you should be doing. Because, how a lot of people say, oh, the 3-goal lead is the worst in hockey, right? Because they're up 5-2 at this point. But I love to see that. They were not sitting back. Like the shots in that third period, they end up being 6-6. So, kind of even. And you just love to see it. So then, late in the period here, we are, let's see, 2.5 minutes left. There was a Carolina shot that got blocked, and then Hall would score on the rebound. So yeah, Hall does score from Walker and Blake at the 17:30 mark. This makes it 5-3. So in my mind, I'm thinking, guys, just play till that final horn. Play till the final horn, right? Now, thankfully, they don't pop in anymore, but the Hurricanes, they would pull Anderson for the extra attacker, and Giroux would end up scoring the empty netter from center ice, so Giroux could use that as well. I think he had like 1 goal in his last 20 games or something like that, so good to see Giroux get one. That was his 13th of the season from Pinto and Sanderson at the 19:03 mark. That makes it 6-3, and of course, that ends up being your final. And yeah, that's it for my notes. So this is just a solid game against a very tough opponent in Carolina. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at the box score here. Oh, let me look at this. I noticed later on, after the fact, I forgot that I did not read off the 3 stars in the last game. So I'm going to make sure I do that this time. So 3 stars of the game for tonight. Brady Tkachuk was the first star with 2 goals. Second star was Stützle with a goal and an assist. And Greg was the third star with 2 assists. So there you go. I did not forget this time. Okay, now let's take a look at the box score here. A lot of guys had multi-point efforts. You could have chosen so many different players for stars of the game, truly. So look at the forwards. Listen to this. Tkachuk, 2 goals. Pinto, Stützle, and Dylan Cousins all had 1 goal and 1 assist. Greg had 2 assists. Batherson, Zetterlund, 1 assist. Giroux, a goal. And then for the plus minus, we got Kachuk, Dylan Cousins, and Greg +2. Stutzla and Giroux were +1. Eller and Nick Cousins were -1. Ice time leader was Pinto with 17-10. Shot leader was Kachuk with 5. The block leader was Pinto, he had 3. And Nick Cousins led the way in hits with 6. And taking a look at the defense here, so our point getters were Zub and Sanderson. They each had an assist, and they were also both +2. Everyone else was even. Ice time leader, of course, was Sanderson with 26-47. And then Zub and Sanderson led the way in shots with 2. And Crotty actually led the way in blocks with 3. That's good to see there. And wow, so back-to-back games where there were no hits by the defense. Huh. That's really interesting. I don't know if that's a typo there, but they end up having 28 overall. But yeah, that's back-to-back games where no defenseman had a hit. And I still believe they're tired, like they're playing way more than what they're used to, but it didn't hurt them tonight. So if we look at the save percentage for Allmark, it's sub 900, 893, which is not too awful. He stops 25 out of 28, but he made some good saves, and the team played well, right? Like 893, again, it's not horrible. You'd like it to be a bit higher, but can't really complain too much about this one when you beat the Hurricanes 6-3. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. There are not many games left. There are 5 games remaining. So the remaining opponents, it's not going to be easy. Their next game is going to be on Tuesday, April 7th, 7 p.m. Eastern against Tampa Bay, who they just lost to recently. So yeah, we'll see, man, because you got Tampa, Florida, Islanders, New Jersey, and Toronto in that order. There are a lot of easier opponents there, but we know what Tampa's all about. We saw what Florida did to them not long ago, obviously. Islanders are fighting for a playoff spot. The Devils and Leafs are not going to make it. So, they might be looking to play spoiler. It's not going to be easy, but at the end of the day, the Sens do end off the night sitting in a playoff spot still. They do have the second wildcard spot with 90 points, but it's just a mess. You got the next 4 teams behind them. They're 3 points behind the Sens or less. So yeah, they got to keep playing well. They did get some help on the out of town scoreboard today, which is huge. I know the Red Wings lost as well. The Capitals got destroyed today by the Rangers 8-1. That was crazy. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Feeling pretty good right now if you're a Sens fan, I think. Still some work to be done. Anything can happen. And yeah, that's going to be it for this one, guys. So for the game on Tuesday, I do plan to do a watch party for that one, unless things change. So maybe I'll see some of you guys there. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this one, guys. So the Sens win by a score of 6-3 over the Hurricanes, and they will be looking to ride that momentum into Tampa Bay, but against Tampa Bay in Ottawa on Tuesday. Alright guys, I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you all so much for watching, and go Sens go.